Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm a big fan of that video because it kind of, in 4 minutes of your life that you might feel you're never going to get back, tells the whole story, really, of Ocado Group and the journey that we've been on this last 20 years. Well, actually more than that now, 23 years. The group itself started in 2000. That video starts in 2002 when it talks about that first generation of technology platform. And also, I'm kind of quizzing you a little bit now. I'm sure you were paying attention. But there's a part in the video where you see all the the automation that we have, the pallet lifters, the miles of conveyor, and we kind of turn it on its head, and we come to the OSP platform, the bots running on a grid. And that's kind of what I'm here to talk about a little bit, our journey to creating the platform that supports this. There's a bit of a play on words here too, because there's a generational aspect to this story, in that the first generation of technology, the next generation that came along, and the new generation that we're working on. And so to kind of take you through a little bit of that, the story so far, I've kind of kicked that off already. The video really helps. But we'll get into a little bit around the problem that our solution has resolved for us in the market that we're in, how that's been reimagined, and how we're now taking that to the next level for the next generation of product, and where does the whole idea of a digital DNA come into that and the tooling that we're using. So to set some context for this first, I should maybe do a quick introduction. So before I tell you about Ocado and Ocado Technology, introduce myself. My name is Husman Khan. I actually work for Ocado, not for Aras. There's a few Aras VPs in the room might have been heart attack. How do I afford my salary bill if he's really working for us? That's not the case. I'm not an Aras employee, but we are an Aras user. So, and I think that part of the story will come a little bit later on. Let me talk a little bit about Ocado. And one of the great things about this for me being in the UK presenting this is most people will have heard of Ocado. They will have seen the vans on the street, or you're even customers, which, by the way, thank you very much. So you'll know who we are. We're an online grocery retailer. What you may not be aware of is that we started off as an online grocery retailer, but we effectively sold half of that retail business to Marks & Spencer, and we're now more of it says it there, global technology-led software and robotics platform business. What we've effectively done is successfully automated the process of grocery shopping and packaged it in a way that could be sold to other partners. And that's now the business that we're actually in. But it does help by having the fact that we have still 50% of the retail business that we own with Marks & Spencer in that partnership, because again, it's one of the first places we test out some of our new technologies and innovations. But you see here, tech, the writing's really small, right? I'm going to get close to the front. We are 12 global retail partners, about 500 plus patents, 2,500 technologists. That's not what you'd really think of as a retailer. It used to be that we were very much the retail focused with an IT department, and gradually the IT and the technology is the thing that's taken over. The technology platform that we've built, we call it Smart Platform. And I am going to talk a little bit about this when I'm explaining that last part of the journey, just to sort of put this in front of you and what it is. And again, this is our standard spiel, how we explain this. And I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail. But when I refer to OSP, something for you to refer back to. An end-to-end integrated platform for online grocery and e-commerce. So we have the technology stack that starts with your mobile phone, where you're ordering your shopping, to the machine learning that is working out the optimal route for the van to deliver X amount of shopping drops in an 8-hour shift. And the whole end-to-end stack that looks after all of that, including the supply chain. In terms of our development centers, we're now pretty much global, so acquisition has helped do this too. We have a footprint in the US, but we're mainly based from a development perspective in the UK. So I work out of our development center in Welwyn Garden City, and we have a presence in pretty much Europe, and I think we've got a site in Vegas, San Francisco, and in Toronto as well. So as a technology group now, we're quite spread geographically, and our partners, the people who are using OSP to effectively, we're outsourcing, or they are outsourcing their e-commerce for grocery shopping to us. Those are now pretty much in all corners of the world. So the last one that we signed was Lotte in Korea, but we have Aeon in Japan, Coles in Australia. Kroger is the big one in the US, where we have, I think, something like 15 CFCs running at the moment, with plans for another, I think there's another 20 more in the pipeline, give or take. So again, our client base now is global as well. who are using our platform. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the OSP platform and this journey. So the challenge, what is it that we were trying to solve when we developed the OSP system? It's something that you don't really think about unless you're thinking about it. And it's the act of going to a supermarket store and doing your grocery shopping. And you kind of think if you'd never seen a supermarket before, you'd walk into one of these buildings, you wouldn't know what to do. So that whole thing of going in, picking up a cart, a trolley, having a list, picking the groceries that you want. You've got frozen food, you've got fresh food, things that are soft, things that are hard, things that are in packaging, all different things. Right? A box of cornflakes, you handle that differently to a bunch of bananas, to a liter of ice cream. It's a very different proposition. And the challenge there was to that typical basket, how to create the automation around it. And our robotics and automation platform, we've developed the platform in-house to be able to enable that. Using, I should say, this is developed 3D, a lot of the toolkit that are used in these applications are represented here from the likes of yourselves, from the industries that you represent, using those technologies to enable our application. When we talk OSP, we talk about this challenge. Really, what's the key difference? And really, if you look at how grocery supply chain typically works, there's a lot of trucks on the road that are moving goods from a supplier to a distribution center to a store, and then you're driving to the store, or the store's delivering to you, and that's a long way to travel and to move material around, move your groceries around. Our platform is based on a thing called a Customer Fulfillment Center, the CFC. So if you note from the video, the largest one that we have in our estate is the size of 9 football pitches. I was there the other week. I could swear, you stand at one end of it, you can see the curvature of the earth as you're looking across. It's pretty big. There's about 2,000 bots running on that grid. And that's servicing, it's inside the M25, that's our site in Aras. And gradually what they've done has gotten smaller. And the way it works with the CFC, the supply chain, your grocery stock comes in, and then it's shipped out. If I sort of drill that down a little bit further, oh, by the way, I think we just recently announced the Luton CFC just opened. I think I saw that on my LinkedIn earlier. Some of the technology that I'm talking about today is actually, you can see pictures of it if you do want to have a look up, see what that looks like. But the CFC is the central thing, and then when we go inside it, inside the warehouse, the CFC warehouse, what you have there is, again, this is introducing the peripheral around it. So you have the goods that come in that are decanted into the system. You have a mechanism for taking the goods out and pushing them through the shopping. There are vans that are coming back with the empty bags and what have you that are coming in. We call that dekitting. And there's also a picking process as well. But in the middle of that, you see this little grid and the little bots on top. And that's the heart of the system. And this is the thing we call the hive. So the hive here now is the grid and the bots. You can get, typically, the bulk of the stock is stored in a 21 high configuration. So the way this is working is there are totes with the goods in, and these are the things that are stacked. And they're stacked various heights depending on how fast moving the material is. And what the bots will do is if you've ordered something that is, let's say it's the third from the bottom of one of these stacks, the bots will actually dig it out. They will actually come in and mine that out of the hive. It will replace all of the totes that it's taken and put them in other places, and it will find the item that you've ordered, take it to a pick station, where we can then put it into your shopping and then ship it out and send it. The amount of stuff that goes in, that runs behind this is quite phenomenal. But the key bit of technology that makes all this work are the bots. So bot orchestration, they run on a 4G network because wireless isn't quick enough. They get something like 10 messages per second. They move at 4 meters per second, accelerate at 2 meters per second squared. So for the engineers in the room, that's pretty cool, but there's a 5 mil clearance between them. It's the first fact that I think from an engineering point of view that I remember I learned when I joined this company. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of energy. So one of these bots typically weighs about 150 kilos. If you fully load it up with about 30 kilos maximum of stock, let's say somebody's bought bottles of water, then you get up to about 180, 200 kilos. You move that around at 9 miles an hour and a 5 mil clearance between them. You can imagine some of the challenges that we might have seen before. Bot orchestration was something also I mentioned, how that's done, the wireless technology around it. We are looking at 5G now as well, but it's basically a 4G network that's running, that orchestrates all of this. It is pretty cool, and it's pretty awesome to see it running. Again, the videos don't do it really the justice that it should. But I want you to get a sense of what's behind it. When you see those vans on the road, and you think, well, I ordered it on my app, and you've picked a slot, and then your goods arrive in that slot. But all this is going on behind it, that technology stack. And quite a lot of software, so an e-commerce platform, a logistics platform, there's a fulfillment platform sat underneath that, and then we get into the hardware end of the stack, where we start talking about asset storage and retrieval, and some of the other automation that sits around it. So a lot of depth and technology. There are other capabilities, tools, technologies that we're using as well. I'm not going to talk about those too much because I don't think the time will allow. I don't know how long I have, by the way, so I'm hoping someone's going to give me a note before I get to the end. So we talk about simulation. We use simulation a lot for assessing capacity when we do CFC design. This used to be a graphic that would actually move about, and you'd see bots running around on it. But what's the difference between having a 5 mil clearance and a 10 mil clearance? What does that do to the capacity of the CFC? What does that do to your throughputs? All those changes that we make to our platform were all pushed through this digital twin that we have of our site and facility. That's just one of the use cases we have when we talk about simulation. Robotic picking also is very much a thing. You'll see that. I'm going to talk a little bit around the new technology where we've advanced with that. But robotics has been at the heart of our business. And use of robotics technology and making that work as well. Actually, that picture is in my building, so I know it well. We've also have a piece of work going on at the moment around autonomous mobility. Right? Actually having a facility whereby you order your shopping and then the shopping comes to you and it's not being driven by a driver, but it gets to you, right? So what you can see here is the Applied EV Skate and Oxbotica's software, and we're looking at a platform, an application for that at the moment, which again is it's very interesting. And I think for me, there's other things I can talk about, machine learning and AI, but I think one of the key elements for me is our use of cloud. So we've been using cloud technologies pretty seriously now for maybe the last 5-6 years. The whole platform that manages bot orchestration is all sat in AWS. There are no cabinets, there are no PLCs. We use GCP extensively for the analytics. Every single movement a bot makes, when it travels, when it picks something up, when it puts something down, when it changes direction, all of that data is collected and analyzed, and we use it all kinds of applications like maintenance planning. And predictive maintenance and things like that in the hardware space. From a software space, from the point of view of algorithms that are looking at movement of material and the forecasting of supply and things like that. All of that has machine learning sat in the cloud as well. A big part of making the platform scalable, helping us take it out into the field. So that is a lot about our platform and our story and the stuff that we do. I wanted to sort of mention a little bit around what the next generation of this looks like. Now, last year, my colleague Matt Whelan was here at Develop 3D, and he's very much in that innovation space, talking about what they were doing with the new product that he was working on. Some of this might be a bit of revision to introduce you to this. Okay. This is our new bot. For those of you who were here last year, it might be a bit of a reminder. You might have seen it before. I should give a quick shout out to Brad, who was bigging up my presentation earlier on. NTOP was one of the tools that we used in the development of this and topology optimization. This is it is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's somebody did tell me it reminded them of a Borg cube. So the Borg is not doing your shopping. Resistance is not futile. Resistance is voltage over current. But this is now the next generation. And what this has done for us is it's taken about 1/3 of the weight out of the bot. If you take weight out of the bot to that extent, then the structure that you need to sit this on then becomes less, needs to be less well engineered. The grid that we sit these on, the bots on, is highly engineered, right? A 5 mil clearance and all the rest. The amount of force, if you imagine, being exerted by bots moving at that speed, if it's lighter, you don't need it. So that's now getting the platform cheaper, getting it more flexible, and this is the start of that next generation. So with it comes the new grid, a lightweight grid made of maybe more conventional building materials than the highly precision engineered material that we use today. And also in that reimagined portfolio is on-grid robotic pick. If you do look for the announcement around Luton's being launched, which I picked up on my LinkedIn this morning, but I couldn't find it again, you've got photographs of this as well. This is robotic picking, and what it's basically doing is it's picking the goods out of one tote and putting it into the shopping in another tote. And that's where you see the red and the white totes surrounding this thing. Again, a next generation of technology, a lot of AI and machine learning in that as well. Which actuator do you need to pick up the bunch of bananas versus the grapes versus the eggs? It's a very different ball game. A lot of it's not as simple as it kind of looks. But now to the topic that I'm really interested in. So I look after a group within engineering productivity in my business, engineering services. And there's that space where a lot of the innovation takes place. And that's what you had last time, right? And his presentation's pretty much sexier than mine, I'm pretty sure, even though I stole some of it. But he's talking about the innovation, the creativity, the agility that we're trying to create and what we're doing. And I've got the other stuff. I've got the how do we make sure that the configuration is managed well, that the data is in good shape, that we're able to push it into manufacture and do that with the minimum of challenges. And what I'm kind of trying to put across here is the engineering challenge that we have, or that we're working with, this idea of being able to break this curve. The cone of innovation, by the way, this little hard to see little cone thing, the idea, I picked this out of a product management website that was telling product managers, don't commit to anything when the curve's really wide because you never know what you're going to be doing. Wait till it starts to narrow and then you can start giving people commitments. I don't think it's new. I think nothing's new, but that's pretty much what this is. That balance between, as your product is maturing, you've got less scope for innovation, and that doesn't really work for us. We want to kind of redraw that like this. We want to say, even when we've launched it, even when we got it into manufacture, if I want to have 5 bots going down a production line, every one of them's different because every one of them's an improvement. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to do that without losing my shirt, right? Without creating a ton of technical debt. The cynic in me, and again, fond memories of time in industry, the engineers will give me a product, and I've come from more of a manufacturing background, and I complete the design for them when I take it into the factory. But that's not what we're trying to do here. We want the product to have the minimal amount of technical debt, to be able to take it into manufacture, to be able to manage that supply chain data really well, and push all our innovations through. And that's the challenge that I guess I'm here to talk a little bit about and how we've gone around it. Now, when I've given this presentation before, I've kind of divided it into these 3 areas of where that focus has been, what a strategy looks like for being able to do this. But I don't think time's going to allow me to go through all of that. So I'm really going to focus on just the tool chain. And there's another shout to Brad as well. I can't see if you're in the audience or not. A slight apology. I did forget the NTOP logo. It should be on here. NTOP is definitely one of the tools that sits on this sheet. But the idea behind this is the tools that we're working with now, there's almost like a cultural dimension to the things that we're working with, right? It isn't enough that you've got something that does very cool things and it will do this, that, and the other, but it's a little bit awkward to deal with. You want something that's going to fit with the new generation of design engineers that we have working today. And in our case, in our business, the collaboration is a massive piece of that. Being able to collaborate and work well within the tools. So this is one of the slides that I pinched from Matt from last time when he talked about videos and stuff like this that we're using in Slack, Miro boards, and also the CAD application that we've built our 600 bot in, which is an Onshape. But the thing that's really helping for us, going to be bringing all this together, is the Aras platform. When we think about Aras, we were in the market for a PLM system, and we moved away from the idea of a PLM system that you take out of the box and you can start running, and we went with something that's built on a platform that has the flexibility to grow and develop with the things that we need to do, and that will be able to handle the technology that we have to move at the pace that we're going. And that is now the latest addition to that tool chain to help us deliver some of that. When we talk about our digital thread, and again, I imagine if those of you that are in a manufacturing industry or work with digital thread in your own business or working with clients, they'll all have a picture similar to this. Ours isn't really very much different. We have a product that we've defined. We have design systems that we're integrating together. We're trying to get them to talk together. Eventually, you're going to come up with a product that you've defined. A manufacturing definition's got to follow. It's got to get into a supply chain. Tying that together is really tough. Some real challenges in making that happen and doing that well. And then when you get it into the field, and you start working with it in the field, and the intelligence and the data that you're getting back in order for you to then feed that into the next round of improvements. So in this, I think it's not anything that's particularly new or innovative, but as the basis for creating a stable platform that we can have our agile practices on top of. It's really important for us. In terms of where we have been with this, we're really at the start of our journey. So the first set of tools that you see here, this is a few months old. We've made a bit more progress. But the applications that you see here, some of them have kind of come out of the box and been a little tweaked. Other stuff we've really practically rewritten from the ground up to meet our needs. And then you can see other tools as well that are in discovery. Some of them have moved on quite a bit. Tech docs and component engineering are two that are pretty much ready to go soon as well. But again, for us, we're really right at the start of that process. And so this is, again, whereabouts they are in the phases. Again, a little bit dated. We've moved on a little bit more from when I first presented this slide in May. But we are making some good progress. I'll finish off with this, really. There's some learning points to share. If you're in the market for a PLM application and you're thinking about what the considerations, and share some of our experience, it's bloody hard work, this nonsense PLM. You know, I made a joke, right, that in the US that I was only 21 years old, and then all the a couple of engineers are like horrified. So, you know, I'm not really 21, but you know, it feels like that. I feel like I've aged. It is hard work. A new generation of tools. One of the exciting things for me is we're a very cloud-focused business. We're using cloud-based tools. We have teams that are writing tools in all different platforms. We have a team that write things for us in AWS and things like that. The idea of wrapping a cloud-native PLM around our engineering assets that are also cloud-native. We're in a really interesting space with this because they don't, it rolls off the tongue like it makes a lot of sense, but you know, there's a lot of challenges with it as well. New crafts too, mechatronics, right? So a tale to tell about falling out with mechatronics engineers. Maybe you can ask me about that afterwards. But there are new crafts and it creates new disciplines, new challenges for the tool chains that we're working with. We're having to write some of our own functionality. If I talk about the CAD tool, for example, with Onshape, I think we've written over 200 feature scripts. The integration with NTOP, right, we wrote that with them ourselves to make that work for us. So not everything is off the shelf. We're having to do that. And that seems to be what I'm observing with our engineering community. A lot more, we're doing a lot more of that. There is bumps in the road. You need a bit of resilience. But I think the key thing for me is finding a good partner, someone who's a good cultural fit. I think if there's one takeaway that I would say for this is if you're in this game and you're in the market for an application that helps bring those digital assets together and establish that digital thread in your business, you do want to find the right person to help you do that. So folks, that is our talk about our program. I know one PLM are here, by the way. I'm after a lot of those, more of those notebooks. It'll look very cool. This is what we called our project. So small shout to them. I'll come and see you later on. But yeah, that's it. Thanks very much, everyone.